Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rslash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode. Oh, I'm not the IT guy, I'm the sales guy. Tech support, it's not just for computers. Be wary. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Oh, I'm not the IT guy, I'm the sales guy. Ever had that distinct feeling of seething anger and hatred towards a guy, only to realize it's not really his fault and you're kind of left wondering what there is left to feel at all? That was me a few weeks ago. Quick backstory: we have sold 10 client PCs to a customer on which they had installed software we also sell. The end customer, who we'll call John, ended up not liking the software, so we were asked if we could provide something different. Demos were given and in the end they had chosen a software that was ideal for their situation. Our client's IDer, who we'll name Fred, was also present, and he was noting down and asking what the installation procedures were. Their sales guy, who we'll name Dan, was there too. Mind you, I was not present at this demo, so I had no idea who anyone was or what was exactly sold. My colleague, we'll call him George, was the one present at the demo, and was also handling most of their questions regarding the new software. Fast forward 2 months and I get a call from Dan, who I at the time didn't know wasn't their IT guy. He said the software wasn't working properly and asked if one of us could drop by to fix it. I said that George was on holiday, so if they wanted his help specifically, they'd have to wait until he came back in about 2 weeks, but if I could provide any help, I wouldn't mind doing so. A week passes with no answer, so I figured they wanted to wait for George to come back. Then suddenly, I got a call from Dan. Dan, hi, is this George? Me, no, this is T. How can I help? Dan, oh, well, can I talk to George? Me, George is still on leave until next week. Is there anything I can assist you with? Dan sighs audibly. Well, our customer is saying the software isn't working at all and wants someone to come by tomorrow to fix it. Me, oh, I'll need to check our schedules and see if I'm able to go. Dan, no, you don't understand, someone has to come or we'll lose this customer. You guys had better come or I'll go and find another distributor to buy our stuff from. Me, is there any way for me to remotely log on to the clients and see if I can fix it that way? Dan, no, it's an long pause. Me, Dan. Closed network. So there's no internet connected to the clients. Me, alright, one moment. I put him on hold and go into my boss's office. I explain the situation, he checks my schedule, makes a few calls and asks me if I'm willing to go there tomorrow. I say I am despite the long drive because I want to help them out. The customer and I agree to meet at 9 a.m. on location. The next day, after a 2h long drive, I arrive on location at 9 a.m. Client is nowhere to be seen. I wait half an hour and I call him. He says he's on the way, but that he's run into some traffic. Around 10:30 a.m. he arrives saying he's sorry, and we go inside. Mind you, I was already annoyed at the fact that I had to wait an hour and a half after driving for 2 hours. We enter the building, I go to the clients and I see that the software is only installed on one PC. Me, I thought you had installed them on all the PCs already? Dan, apparently not. Me, I was under the impression that the software wasn't working properly, but it's not installed at all. Dan, I didn't know that. Me, what do you mean you didn't know? You're the one who installed and programmed it, right? Dan, oh, you mean Fred. Fred's on leave until next week. I'm the sales guy who sold this system. Me, and he only installed the software on one PC? Dan. Yes. Me, is there a reason why he didn't install them on the other clients? Dan, I don't know actually. Our client was threatening to pursue legal action if we didn't fix it this week, so I panicked and I asked you guys to come. Can you fix it? So instead of spending maybe 1 to 2 hours troubleshooting the software, I'm stuck installing and configuring 9 PCs with this software, which took me about 4 to 5 hours to make sure everything worked properly. On the exterior, I was friendly, professional and calm while answering whatever questions they had, but on the inside, man, was I fuming. After a while I just couldn't fault the guy, and the fault probably lies with Fred, so I ended up feeling empty. I left, 2H trip back, called my boss and explained the situation. He said he'd charge them a full day of on-site support. A week later I learned that Fred was planning on installing the software on the 9 other clients, but he forgot his week of vacation was coming up, so he figured it wouldn't be a big deal to finish his work after he got back and didn't let his sales know. No idea if he got fired for it or not. There's some justice in charging them a full day of on-site support. I hope some other BS charges were tacked on, because you did their job for them. Infuriating. October 10th rant would read again. Best way to release pent-up anger. Hit them where it hurts, in their purse, laughing face. To be honest, a full day sounds like the client got off really cheap. Let's sum it up. 2H drive because the system wasn't available remotely. 1.5H wait because the client couldn't be arsed to make sure he's on time. 4.5H of work. 2H drive back, I assume. So altogether his time was tied up for 10H. Considering the kind of last-minute emergency it should definitely be more expensive than a regular full day. Man, if I didn't really care about my job performance, acting like Fred would be right up there on things to do. Sometimes I regret having a work ethic. Sometimes I drink enough that it goes away. This reminds me of an interaction with a customer. Customer, your software is broken, it never worked. Me, okay, let's do a screen sharing session. Customer, look, I launched the software and I get this error, this is unacceptable. We paid thousands for this piece of crap. It's been like that since we installed it 3 months ago. Me, you. This just the installation file, and the error says that you don't have sufficient permissions to install the software. OMG, this is some next level failing. You gotta be making this up, right? I'm just a guy that has gone to therapy because I'm emotionally stunted, but I don't think that's the proper way to deal with anger. It seems like you typically find resolution by focusing your anger on someone. I recommend working through why you're angry and the underlying feelings that cause the anger. Being able to let go and not get mad at anyone, whether justified or not, should be a reason to celebrate, not feel empty. This is strangely wholesome. Thank you, stranger. Was it true all 10 computer was on a closed network? Yep. They were all connected to a 24-port switch with no connection to a router. I'm happy that this was at least true, because if not, I would have been even more angry, haha. I just knew this was going to require cloud services, and that's where the problem would be. I was wrong. Fred forgot to ask one important question when he was planning on installing after his vacation. Is the client okay with the delay in installation of the software? Even if they said yes, there would still be calls saying it wasn't working and they needed ASAP. Or he asked it, the sales guy said sure, Fred took off, and the sales guy proceeded to lie to everyone else too and waste their time. It's okay to be angry about a situation, without having a person to direct the anger towards. True. Honestly, I just try to think of the consequences. If I start shouting, it'll reflect the company I work for badly. Dan said the software wasn't working properly. A week passes with no answer. Someone has to come. You guys had better come, or I'll go and find another distributor. After a 2H long drive, I arrive on location at 9 a.m. Client is nowhere to be seen. Uninstalled, Dan, I didn't know that. So, lies, time wasting, trying to make his problems yours, threats, more time wasting, never even bothered to actually look at the issue in the first place. Definitely be angry at Dan. Dan needs to be put on a sh*t list. How did you decompress after that situation? Drove home, cracked open a cold one and ordered food. Can we all agree that we need more no sh*ts given attitudes like Fred in this world? That man is a gem and must be protected. I disagree. Leaving the customer in the lurch like that is unacceptable. He should have handed the work off before his vacation. Doesn't take much. He'd already documented everything. A quick 15 minutes with his superior, if that long. He's a gem for dropping the ball on a job? We don't know his side of the story, but based on what OP put at the bottom, Fred forgot he had vacation coming up. Sounds like he F***ed up, or maybe someone delegated poorly. Tech support, it's not just for computers. I was just a bystander for this incident, but it was an interesting twist to my tech support experience. I was in England with my wife on vacation a few years ago. We had to take a bus from Heathrow to the town we were staying in after we arrived. The bus driver was a very nice middle-aged lady who gave us all a running commentary on the ride down. She was like something out of British TV comedy, but completely charming. We got to the first bus stop, a small station in a town near to where we were headed. She shuts the bus off since this is not the US where you always leave engines running all the time. After boarding the new folks, she goes to start the engine and nothing happens. Like most modern machines, the bus has lots of computers, so she goes through some reset steps, keeping up a running commentary for the passengers. Nothing works. She turns around and tells us she's going to have to call tech support. Wow, tech support for bus, well why not? We can only hear her side of the conversation of course. She tells whoever is on the phone, yes did reset X, yes she tried step Y and workaround Z. Then her voice suddenly rises in tone and volume, no she's not going to do that. She's a driver, not a mechanic. She starts scolding the support person, imagine suggesting something unreasonable to your mom or favorite aunt. My wife and I, who both had a lot of experience supporting computer users, are about falling out of our seats laughing. Anyway, she's totally reading the riot act to whoever is on the phone, who is probably wishing he'd never suggested the final step. Driver tells the support person to dispatch a mechanic and a replacement bus, and stop instructing her to do things she's not supposed to do. Apparently the support person decided do just that. Driver lady stands up and proceeds to tell us all the things they wanted her do, which of course, she had already tried, and finally, the support person wanted her to disconnect the batteries, let the bus sit for some amount of time, reconnect the batteries, and see if that worked. I'm thinking, this is the UK, everyone is likely in a union, and it sounds like they were asking a driver to do mechanic's work. I don't know for sure. Plus she doesn't have any tools. While we were waiting for the next bus, I asked the driver about our bags, since I would have to get switched over to the replacement bus. Oh, don't worry love, I already pulled them out and will get them loaded for you. We had a wonderful time on the trip and had fantastic experiences with all the people we had to deal with. Thanks Fran. Keep on truckin'. I'm surprised they don't have a main battery shut-off switch somewhere on the bus. Yep, or at least some sort of short-protected disconnect. I'm no mechanic, but I do know that automotive batteries are literally designed to deliver a metric crap ton of juice over a short period of time. Something I don't want an untrained operator attempting to mess around with a wrench on unless it's a dire emergency. There likely is, but getting to it likely involves opening engine panels and such to get to the switch, to turn it off, come inside, turn on the headlights for 5 minutes, then go turn on the battery again and try again, after turning the headlights off. For most buses this involves going to the rear by the engine, opening the cover, just about climbing inside, and then reaching in the dark and dirty engine bay for the handle near the battery box. Would that be considered the bus equivalent of turning it off and on again? Sounds like it. Like turning off your laptop, disconnecting the battery. waiting. Then plugging it back in and seeing if the computer turns on. Nah, that would be ignition off, ignition on. This is more like open the case, disconnect power supply and reconnect power supply. Oh, and imagine asking your average office money to do that and not have nightmares, lol. Might not be a union thing as such, but we have much tighter rules about health and safety than is average for the US. That lady could have lost her job if she'd messed around in the engine bay without the proper training and certs on her own initiative, and if her boss had ordered her to do it and she'd got hurt, both her boss and the company itself would be criminally liable. Kind of what I thought listening to her protest with whoever was on the phone. I've done the disconnect your battery thing in my car to force a reset of the electronics, but it's my car, and I have some experience with both cars and electricity. Was the British TV comedy Are You Being Served? On the buses. Keeping up apparencies. Yes, bus divers are normally in unions here. Bus divers. Do they get a sinking feeling? A former colleague was a rescue tech on buses before joining us. His speciality was going to a bus stranded by frozen moisture blocking joints in airlines, and thumping the usual suspects with a soft-faced hammer. It usually earned him a big round of applause. I told him about USS Thresher's infamous loss to such frosting, rendered him mute for, almost an hour. What is the story for the USS Thresher? I'm very curious now. Now I'm not a bus mechanic, but been trained to operate some larger industrial-type vehicles. I have to ask, don't buses have a battery cutoff switch somewhere? Forklifts that I run have a big ol' switch that you just flip to disconnect/reconnect the batteries. Sometimes you see a little flap set low beneath driver's side window with isolation logo. Be wary. Hi folks, back again with Tales from Typewriter Support. I suppose I'm not particularly the best judge of character when it comes to people. You can't open them up and see how they work like you can with a typewriter. Well, you could, but you'd find yourself in some unsavory circumstances. I had a customer come in once with a lovely German portable typewriter in need of cleaning and repair. We had a lovely chat about all sorts of things from typewriters to fountain pens, and she gave me a cute little pocket notebook and some stickers. I thought she seemed like a wonderful person, one of those rare individuals that actually makes you want to continue business with them. She signed my payment contract without question or problem, and there I have 2 clauses listed. Everything on there exists, because I've been screwed for it in the past. First is the $20 assessment fee, non-refundable, and it does not go to the final bill. It's merely for me to take the time to strip the machine down and tinker with it to get an accurate list of problems and dial in the quote as close as possible. Second clause, I cannot return the machine to you before you've paid. I didn't think these would be an issue. I've had folks complain, but that's just how I need to do business. I can't have people walk off without paying for hours of work, nor do I want to take a half hour to an hour on a machine to diagnose it only for the client to say no thank you and walk away. I acknowledge my time has value to it. I get down to business and start working on the typewriter. I will refrain from stating the model, but it was a 70s era plastic shell. The machine itself was covered in surface rust from the humidity. It also had a handful of mechanical parts needing disassembly, repair, and replacement parts. All in all, the quote came out to just shy of $200, which I have listed as average repair price. She responded that it was a bit high, so I cut it down by nearly half. The thing about me is that I like to work within an industry standard. I don't like half-assing projects, so while I cut the quote, I still did the work. It amounted to about several hours of unpaid work, but I figured it was worth it because she seemed nice. I have a nasty habit of underbilling. She agrees to the new price and voices no further complaints. That machine came out looking like new. Truly a fine writing instrument. She comes by to pick it up a week after our initial scheduled date, doesn't say much, and drives off. I figured she must have been in a hurry. I get an email that evening from her stating that the sole reason she paid me at all was so I wouldn't hold her machine hostage as per my contract, as well as a voice to state that the assessment fee doesn't go towards the quoted work. So, that was the only reason? Ouch. Not that it looked fantastic, actually worked, came with free parts and a ribbon, typed super well, dialed into factory specs that were decades out of alignment. She didn't voice any particular concern, but it was just one large undertone of disappointment. I suppose she was trying to butter me up for a better price early on, not the first time someone has tried that trick, but I fall for it every time. Guess it just wasn't low enough for her. I figured she'd maybe appreciate good workmanship, but today's society doesn't really value that much anymore. One thing's for sure, I don't work for free. Never lower your rates, man. That's the hardest part. I've never had the guts to ask people for money, even when I'm working my ass off. You can't open them up and see how they work like you can with a typewriter. Well, you could, but you'd find yourself in some unsavory circumstances. This reminded me of a conversation I had with a cardiologist. I am a hardware tech and was fixing his PC. He said he could never do what I do. I told him I have an advantage, as I can turn my patients off. He said so can I. I just have to remember to turn them back on again. Having been turned off and back on again, I am extremely glad that my cardiac surgeon remembered. Ha 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 ha, that's horrifying. Never cut your rate, it makes people appreciate you even less and always leads to disappointment. Never fails that when I cut my rate because I like someone/enjoy working with them, they do something to change that and instantly show me how much they value me, not nearly enough. I'm in that situation now, and likely to end my contract much earlier than I planned because I find myself dreading every contact from them. I created the contact for that exact reason. My first big client was only paying me about $5 an hour. It was a joke. Be wary. But I would be weary after this as well. Thank you. I read the whole thing desperately hoping the OP didn't have that typo in the title. Now it's Reddit's fault since I understand that titles can't be edited. I would personally not lower the rate. No machinist, whether car mechanic or computer repair, should feel the need to reduce their quote so long as it is fair. Nor should you. You have an unusual skill, which you worked hard to obtain. If it's valuable to others, they should pay you to exercise it on their behalf. You might want to answer that with an explanation as to why it's so. And then ask if she is satisfied with the results of having brought in a machine in poor condition that was returned to her in factory shape. Before/after pictures if you have them to be included. As the other commenters have said, don't lower your price. You have a unique skill, and if they feel it's not worth the money you charge, they are free to shop around. That's a good point. I suppose it's a bit late now. I only have after photos, I believe. Stand by your rates, period. You're doing yourself and everyone else a favor. If you really feel compelled to do so, no more than 10% max, but really, don't lower your rate. Your services have a value to the customer, stand by that value. When you lower the rate, you lower that perceived value by the customer as well, and as you see, they didn't appreciate you in the least. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.